Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. So glad you're here. What do we got going on? Well, the markets have had a pullback, right? And a lot of people are getting really nervous. They're going, Tall Mike, is this the big one? Are the markets just going to continue to crash? You know, I don't think this is the big one. And I'm going to go with the reason I don't think that is because the bonds are still staying strong, right? Look at the HYG. It's not coming down. Now, if you have the stock market going down like this and you got the bonds crashing harder, then it's time to run for the hills. Then it's over, but I don't think it's over yet. I think the Fed still has your back. I think they're going to push this up one more time. Now, maybe we come down to the 200-day. We crash through the 50-day on the S&P, through the 50-day on the NASDAQ, and it's coming down towards that 200-day. I don't think we're going to get down that low. I think we're going to bounce back up, and I do think they're going to push it to a new record high on the S&P. NASDAQ, maybe, maybe not. The small caps, the Russell, the IWM, I don't think you're going to see a new record high in that one for another decade. I think we've seen that high back in November, and it's struggling all the way down. I don't think they're going to push that one up. I think that's already coming into the bear market. And I do think we're going to get a bear market, but there's a lot of fear out there in the market right now, which is probably a good opportunity to nibble at some and play the bounce. Now, I don't think this is the big one, so maybe you want to take a shot to the upside here. We pulled back a lot of fear in the Bitcoin market, right? I mean, that was what, 107, 109, down at what, 83? I don't know, 83 and change. I mean, that's already what, 25, 30% drop. A lot of fear there. I mean, even Michael Saylor, oh, I love this guy. You got to love it. He says if Bitcoin crashes to $1, he's going to buy every Bitcoin there is. Now, let's just say that he could buy every Bitcoin out there, right? If he bought every Bitcoin out there, his cost basis would still be above $1,400 a Bitcoin. That's buying all the rest at him at $1. You see, his cost basis, he's got about $40 billion worth of Bitcoin, right? And his cost basis is up here 65 to 70,000. Now, he's not looking so smart right now. He just bought a couple $1 billion of Bitcoin up here at 100,000. Now, he's saying it's nothing, right? Because he's saying he wants to buy more. He wants to buy it all the way down to $1. Well, if it does drop to $1, he will lose his company and he would be broke and he would use all his money he has just to fight off the lawsuits he's going to be facing. Not that he's done anything illegal, but when people lose money, who do they sue? Well, they sue the guy that they say caused them to lose the money. Very common in America for no rhyme or reason. But let's talk about that. So he wants to buy all the Bitcoin, right? I mean, okay, now obviously he doesn't listen to Warren Buffett. See, Warren Buffett was asked how much would he pay for Bitcoin. He goes, if you gave me all the Bitcoin in the world, maybe I'd give you $1 because it has no value, has zero value, right? I mean, if Warren Buffett had all the Bitcoin, it'd be worthless, right? I mean, it doesn't have any value. But if you gave him just 5% of all the farmland in the United States, he'd pay you tens of billions of dollars for it because that has real value. And he's making the point that, you know, Bitcoin, no value. It does have a price, Price just went from 109,000 down to 83,000. We got a lot of fear right now. Now, is it going to break through 80,000 before it bounce? Mark my words, it's going to bounce. Now, can they push that up to a new record high? That remains to be seen. I actually think they might do it. They might continue to push that up to a new record high if they can get enough suckers to come in. You see, they're trying to get the United States to get that, the reserve fund, whatever it's called, the Bitcoin fund, right? But basically, it's a Bitcoin bailout fund for the people that own Bitcoin. Like Michael Saylor, he now needs a bailout because that dropped below 60,000, 65,000. He's underwater. He's losing money, and he's about to lose his company. Now, once again, this is just my take, but don't worry, no worries. Economy is still strong. That is still strong for the wealthy, still strong for the millionaires, not so strong for the middle class and poor people, but the rich people are the ones that keep the economy moving along, right? They're the ones going to the restaurants. You can go out to the restaurants, they're still crowded. Those are the wealthy people, right? The ones that still have money and can afford $100 for a meal for two people, right? They're helping the economy. Now, Starbucks just came out. Now they're laying off 1,100 corporate executives, corporate employees, not executives, but corporate employees, 1,100 of them. Why are they laying them off? Because nobody can afford the coffee. Nobody can afford to go into Starbucks and spend $6 for a cup of coffee anymore. People are brewing their coffee at home, right? Because that's what they can afford. So Starbucks laying people off, right? Laying off 1,100. But it's not just Starbucks. I mean, it's becoming a jungle out there. All the big tech companies. I live in Silicon Valley. All the big tech companies, Google, Meta, Microsoft, all laying off people, laying them off. Getting very hard to find a job. I have a friend, he actually works at, I think it's Qualcomm he works for. Anyways, he needed to hire one person. So he, listed his job for that he had. He had over 250 applicants in the first day. It's hard to get a job right now. Really hard to get a job. You see, people are struggling. People are getting laid off. I mean, he can't believe the response. He says he's never seen anything like this. 250 people the first day applying for a job that he just listed. There's a lot of desperation in the air right now. A lot of people are getting laid off. A lot of people losing their job. A lot of people out there looking for work. When they don't have a job, you know what happens? They can't pay their mortgage. What happens when they can't pay their mortgage? They used to be they could go on forbearance. Used to be you could do a loan modification. Can't do that anymore. They're actually making you pay your mortgage or you're going to get foreclosed on. That's called a forced sale. They'll be dumping those homes onto the marketplace. Those homes will be causing the fire sale. We're starting to see it. I mean, the real estate numbers just came out. They're pathetic. I mean, we're locked up. It's frozen, right? I mean, it is just not moving. The sales are just falling off a cliff. Home builders in big trouble. The Airbnb people, the ones that went out there, they didn't just start with one property. No, they went gung-ho because that's what the course told them to do. Told them to go out and buy 10 companies, 10 houses, lever up those houses, get as much debt as you can, and then you rent them out by the night, right? Because you're going to get top rent then. Problem is they're all sitting vacant. He's got 10 of them. He's got 10 of them. Maybe he gets one rented at one night. I don't know. But anyways, those are being dumped onto the marketplace, right? Now, don't worry. They're going to print money, right? But here's the thing. Here's what's changed, okay? Since the great financial crisis. Now, let's talk about this. Great financial crisis, that's called 2007, 2008, right? The Federal Reserve on their balance sheet had about $800 billion. Now, what they do, they started to print money and buy all the assets. What assets did they buy? Mortgage-backed securities. Didn't want those houses coming down. We bought 3 trillion of those. What other types of assets did they buy? About 5 trillion of those bond markets, right? Because nobody else would buy the bonds and you couldn't have the bond market crash, right? You needed to keep that bubble inflated. And right now, it's interesting. We got 3 major bubbles going on now. The credit bubble, which is really the debt bubble, right? The bond bubble, call it whatever you want. We'll go with credit bubble. Okay, that's the biggest ever. Equity bubble, those are the stock market, largest bubble ever. Real estate bubble, oh, they blew that one so big. 3 bubbles going on right now. It's going to be pop, pop, pop. Now that's coming. Now I don't think it's here just yet. It might be the Donald he's putting on the tariffs, making a lot of people nervous. They don't want to see a trade war, right? But the Donald's out there saying he's going to double the amount of tariffs on China. He's going to put the tariffs on Canada. He's going to put them on Mexico. Oh, everybody's going to bow down to the Donald. I think he's just pissing a lot of people off. We'll see how this plays out, but I think people are trying to get out of the dollar. Now, back to my original story. In about 2007, we had about $800 billion on the Fed balance sheet. What they do, they cranked up the printing press. Just the Fed balance sheet went from $800 billion to over $9 trillion. Now, it's come back some, only about $8 trillion right now. But think about that. That's $8 trillion there, and they printed another, $25 trillion or so just in the debt since then. 2%. I mean, this is over $30 trillion has been printed just to blow these three bubbles up as big as they can. But you see, two things have changed since back then, right? This was 2007. There's two things that have changed, right? Okay, the first thing that's changed is we got an inflation problem now. We have a big inflation problem. Now, they're talking that it's only 2%. I'm telling you, it's still up around 8 to 10%. And it's been well above 2% for over the last 4 years, right? So what's the Fed deciding to do? They're deciding to cut interest rates. Okay, they can't get the inflation down to 2%. Why are you cutting interest rates? You should actually be raising them. They can't raise them because everybody would default. The banks would topple over. The government would topple over. And that's the other problem that's different now. Our government is so insolvent, we cannot print any more money, right? And printing of money is not working anyways anymore. It's like pushing on a string. Every $3 trillion we print, every $3 we print, we can go with trillions if you want. You can add trillions on. Every $3 we print, we get $1 in the increase in the GDP, right? So, and it's like pushing on a string. Used to be print $1, get $3 added to the GDP. See, it's not working anymore. Printing money's not working anymore. Lowering the interest rates to zero is not going to work anymore. You got the bond vigilantes. They're going to raise the long end. They're going to have your mortgage 8, 10, 12, 14%. I'm telling you, you're going to see numbers like you never believed. You're going to see inflation running at 20%. Now, that's only double what it is right now. In my opinion, it's up around 8 or 10%. I think we're going to go to 16, 20%, but that may just be the stepping stone on the way to hyperinflation, which is 50%, right? 50% a month, I think, is the technical definition. But they're going to try. They're going to try to print the money, right? I mean, you throw a recession in, you're going to get that interest rate lowered to zero overnight. They're going to have the emergency Fed meeting. They're going to cut that rate, but it's not going to work this time. That's where the problem is. That's where they're handcuffed. They cannot do anything to save us at this point. We're beyond the point of no return. Brace for impact. That's what I would advise to do. How do you do that? You get some real money. Pick up a few ounces of silver. Pick up a little bit of gold. Everybody asks me, they say, but Mike, why are you so bullish on gold? It doesn't make any sense. I just listened to E.B. Tucker. E.B. Tucker wrote the book, Why Gold, Why Now? Now, E.B., he's saying what? He's saying that we topped out right here, $3,000. I'm telling you, that's not going to age well on his podcast because we're going a lot higher. We'll go to 5,000, 10,000. EB says we've hit the top at 3,000. We haven't touched anything yet. It's just getting started. Now, why am I so bullish on gold? Well, because you have negative real interest rates and it's falling, right? What's real interest rates? Let's talk about this. Let's say inflation, if I'm right, it's running at 8%, right? 8%. Okay, well, they're paying you 4% on your bonds. So you got 8% inflation, taking away that 4% and giving you a negative 4%. When you have negative interest rates, gold is very optimistic. It's leapfrogging itself, hitting new record high, new record high, new record high. Now, I know we had that pullback yesterday. What we dropped? $40. I'm hoping we get down another $50. There's some opportunity here. This might be the last opportunity you get to get it below $3,000. But here's the thing. We got negative real interest rates, but they're falling, right? They're even falling. Why are they falling? Because inflation is headed higher than 8%. Why? The bond market is headed lower as they cut the rates on the short end. They can control the short end. They cannot control the long end. But you're going to have, you got negative rates right now, negative real interest rates, and those rates are continuing to fall, meaning gold is going to continue to go up. This is why I'm so bullish on it. You got E.B. Tucker. He wrote a book. He's telling you 3,000 is the top. He's telling you get out of the miners. Miners took a big hit yesterday. I'm buying the miners right here. I think the miners are the place to be. That's just my take. You do you, I'll do me. We'll see how it all works out, but that's my take. But EB, he's saying 3,000 is the top for gold. He's saying the miners, just throw them away. They're the lowest they've ever been compared to the price of gold. Why would you throw the miners away at this point? You love to buy things that nobody wants. He's saying, no, you got to buy what everybody wants. You can play that game, EB. I'll take the ones that nobody wants. You can give them to me, and when Bitcoin gets to zero, I'll take all of it from you. Anyways, I'm Tall Mike. You like this stuff? Give me the thumbs up, but get out, everybody. It's the weekend. We made it. Have a great weekend. We'll talk again next week. Bye. Bye-bye now.